I'm at IREX, the world's largest robotics convention in Tokyo, Japan, riding on this robotic unicycle through the exhibitions which showcase every imaginable variety of robot. There are robotic snakes for looking through drains. There's rescue robots, climbing robots, breast examination robots. This body armor connects me to the robot, which mirrors all the movements. I put my hand in the robot's hand and then held my own hand using my hand to control the robot. Definitely has an uncanny valley effect where it's just human-like enough and almost repulsive in a way.
Some of the most popular robots were human-like machines built for dangerous tasks in disaster recovery. Though impressive, it was surprising how slow and limited these robots were at moving like humans. I visited a robotics lab in Tokyo to talk to Shigeo Hirose, a pioneer in robotics technology, about why that's the case.
Why is it that this mechanical innovation moves slowly relative to the innovation in software and electronics?
And if we try to imitate the human body, the function cannot be so good. The development of the computer performance is always evolving exponentially. But mechanical development is developing just linearly. This is a fact.
Essentially, for robots to become more functional, they need bigger brains, not better mechanics. And the key to unlocking that brain power is developing artificial intelligence, or AI. Even the tech giant Google is said to be moving away from the physical and doubling down on AI. AI is the science of programming computers to perceive their environment and make rational, cognitive decisions in order to achieve a goal. And it's one of the most rapidly progressing and sought-after technologies in the world. At Harvard Center for Brain Science, Dr. David Cox is hoping to model AI off real biological functions by mapping the brains of animals.
A major drive of the experiments we're doing is to understand how brains learn. And if we want to understand how brains learn, we need to have the brains be learning. And we have rooms full of these kinds of racks. And basically what this is like a video arcade for rats. And if you look inside, you can see there are different little ports that they can lick. Basically, those are the buttons on the game controller for the rats. And there's a monitor in the back of the rig. And we can train the rats to distinguish between different things.
Once the rats are trained, Dr. Cox observes the neuronal activity inside the rats' brains while they're thinking.
We've injected a virus into their brain that carries a genetically engineered protein, which lights up a little bit brighter when we shine a laser on it when the cell is active. So this is a way that we can actually watch the animal think.
The most intelligent rats' brains are divided into slices thousands of times thinner than a human hair, and then imaged through a powerful electron microscope, and then modeled in 3D space.
So what we're doing is we're marrying behavior, what the animal can do, its learning and how it's improving, with the activity of those neurons, and then marrying that with the neuroanatomies. And from all of this massive amount of data, we're going to try and really understand what kinds of algorithms might these neuronal systems be computing? What allows biological systems to do all these things that we haven't yet figured out how to make artificial systems do? That's going to unlock a huge renaissance in practical robotics, practical machine learning, computer vision, things like that.
One of the major milestones in creating human-level intelligence is for machines to attain self-awareness. Columbia University's Creative Machines Lab may have already done it.
When you look at this robot, you can see it has 4 legs. But the robot itself does not know that it has 4 legs. All it knows is that it has a couple of motors, a couple of sensors. So if self-awareness works, this machine should gradually learn what it is.
As the robot comes to life and takes its first steps, it tries to understand what it is.
We turn it on and we can watch what it thinks it is. We can actually look at its memory and understand how it's modeling itself.
Does it recognize that it has 4 tentacles or 8 joints?
In the beginning, it's completely wrong. But the robot very quickly knows that they're wrong, and it basically hones its self-image to a point where it pretty much matches its experiences in reality. Using that self-image, it can learn how to walk by playing out lots of forms of locomotion in its mind. These robots learn over time to simulate themselves in a future situation they haven't actually experienced. In other words, they don't have to learn by doing, they can learn by thinking.
If these robots are in the infancy of AI, their counterparts at UC Berkeley are going to kindergarten.
I'm in the arms of Brett, the Berkeley robot for the elimination of tedious tasks.
Using trial and error, Brett learns how to fold laundry, assemble Lego blocks, and fit pegs into holes.
It goes from scratch. It has no notion of how its arms move, no notion of anything except for like a goal. And it does some random set of actions, and depending on whether it's doing good or bad, it evaluates that and keeps updating its policy to do better and better and better.
And like a child, Brett can watch someone perform a task like tying a knot and actually learn it.
Now it has to use both its hands. There we go. So that's how it's supposed to work, yeah.
To make robots like Brett even smarter, some AI developers are using gaming principles to teach their AIs to strategize. In 2014, Google reportedly spent more than $500 million to acquire DeepMind, one of the world's leading AI developers, led by gaming prodigy Demis Hassabis.
What is the significance of games in this sort of research?
Games were invented to be a kind of microcosm of aspects of life. They're a very efficient platform to sort of develop AI algorithms and test them. They can have some of the richness of the real world, but they're in more constrained ways.
Advancements in computer science have been tested with games before, like supercomputer Deep Blue's stunning defeat of world chess champion Garry Kasparov in 1997.
And whoa, Kasparov has resigned.
That was something well beyond my understanding.
Now DeepMind has set out to beat the most complex board game in the world, the ancient Chinese game of Go.
Can you talk a little bit about what makes this a big deal, why it's important?
There's more possible board positions in Go than there are atoms in the universe. If you ask a great Go player why they made a particular move, they'll often answer that it just felt right. That's quite different to when you ask a great chess player. They'll usually be able to tell you precisely the calculations they made. Go is a lot more about feel. These great Go players use all of their years of experience to just sort of come up with the right pattern matching move that fits for that position.
In other words, it was believed you need human intuition, or else you can't win. No AI program has ever defeated a Go world champion before. To see if DeepMind successfully built artificial human intuition, we traveled to South Korea, where Google organized a Go tournament with a $1 million prize, pitting one of the world's top human players against AlphaGo.
That was Lee Sedol, who is the current Go champion, walking by. This is the final game of the Go championship. This may be the biggest board game competition in history because this is a human champion versus the most sophisticated computer-based Go playing system that has ever been created. Lee Sedol has about 10 minutes left on the clock. The game is slowly nearing its end.
I wonder if we have a resignation here.
It could be that Lee Sedol has resigned.
Yeah, Lee has. I'm getting word Lee has resigned.
Wow. It's over. Lee Sedol has lost. AlphaGo won 4 out of 5 games. It is the champion Go player.
AlphaGo's big win reinforced the idea that we may be on the brink of transformative artificial intelligence, but some of the world's most renowned thinkers are warning that there's a high risk of unintended consequences.
The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. There's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon.
I don't think it's inherent that as we create super intelligence that it will necessarily always have the same goals in mind that we do.
Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom believes that the benefits of superintelligence must be reconciled with these risks.
So think of all the things that the human species might have been able to achieve in the fullness of time. Maybe you would have a cure for aging. Maybe you would have space colonization, all these kind of science fiction-like things. But all of those things, I think, might happen very quickly, done on digital timescales. In the long term, I think we have an additional and very different and distinct and unique problem, which is how could you ensure that this super intelligent system will actually do what you intended for it to do? How could you control an intelligence vastly greater than your own?
There's always this concern of some kind of telescoping singularity situation where a sufficiently intelligent computer is able to build more intelligent computers, which leads to some kind of spiraling effect.
I think if you ask most AI researchers or experts, they'll probably give you the same answer, that a lot of these more science fiction scenarios are just that, science fiction. Most technologies, they're kind of inherently neutral, but it depends on how society uses them and deploys them that ends up determining whether they end up being for good or for bad.
As researchers work to balance AI's risks and possibilities, much of the science fiction of the past is becoming today's reality. And the worlds of artificial intelligence and robotics are on track to achieve breakthroughs in technology and science that have never been possible for humans before.
What I think is the most important thing is to use AI to advance science and medicine. Things like diseases, climate, even things like particle physics, macroeconomics. These are all hugely complex systems now that we're trying to deal with and we're trying to get an understanding of. I kind of dream about the day when AI is good enough that we can have this idea of AI scientists that work hand in hand with human experts to allow us to make breakthroughs much faster than we're able to at the moment.
And do you think that will happen soon?
I think that could happen in the next 20 years, yeah, sure.